Hey guys, welcome back to I'm Just a Fan. It's your host Ben, and today we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, and we're going to be previewing the game, giving our predictions, analyzing every angle. Let's get into it. So first, we're going to start with the Chiefs. I don't think I need to go on a very long tangent here about who the Chiefs are, how they got here. We know what the Chiefs are. They've been here multiple times at this point. They've been here now, I think, 5 out of 6 Super Bowls. This team is very familiar with where they're at, and they ooze confidence in these late game situations. It's really what they do. It's what they do best. So I trust them in this situation again. But what is interesting to me is, will we get to that point of this game? Is this going to be a close game? I'm leaning towards yes, just because of the past, but I have a feeling it could be different this time. One thing that the Chiefs do great is they are a great possession team. In the last couple of years, they went from throwing the ball deep numerous times a game, scoring 40, 35 points, to taking a lot lower possessions, but making those possessions count. Really running out the clock, doing what they can, anything to keep the ball away from the opposing team. And of course, they do a great job of not turning the ball over. And again, to get this deep in the playoffs, you have to be doing that pretty well. But again, they do it very good. They pretty much didn't do it almost all the playoffs until the AFC Championship, where Mahomes did have the fumbled snap. But other than that, they've been very clean on the ball. And this Chiefs offense it's definitely more dynamic than last year, in my opinion. I'm not in love with the run game. Pacheco's been extremely disappointing this year. Kareem Hunt's been a solid signing, but he hasn't been a game-changing type of back. Kelce's been okay this year. He's had his spurts, like the Texans game where he does great, and then there's the AFC Championship where he has 2 catches for 19 yards. So he's still a difference maker, but he's not the Kelce of old. What I do really like from the Chiefs is that they have a few more receivers than the last couple of years. Xavier Worthy has really started to break out, specifically in the second half of the season. Juju Smith has really been doing his thing as well. He knows his role with this team. And Hollywood Brown hasn't been great, but he's still there for a good 3 to 4 catches a game. And I think he can make some plays depending on the situation that the Chiefs put him in. The Chiefs' offensive line has been solid as well, specifically the interior. But their weakness for me is those tackles. The tackles have just been really bad. They just have not been able to hold up their end of the bargain. I don't know how they've been specifically the last couple games, but just from what I remember from watching them throughout the season, there were numerous plays where both of those tackles were just giving up a lot of pressure, and I think that was really impacting the offense in the beginning of the season. Now, when we get to the defense, the Chiefs have the best run defense in football, and that's led by Karlaftis and Chris Jones. Again, I don't really need to go in depth on how good Chris Jones is, but Karlaftis is a young guy. They also have Nick Bolton, a solid player as well in the linebacking corps, and they have some pretty good corners as well with McDuffie, and they have a couple other guys back there too. And of course, that defense is led by Spags. I mean, again, doesn't need any introduction. Might be the best assistant coach of all time. It's the way his career is going. So the Chiefs have a lot going for them. I still think they aren't as good as the years past, but of course they're in the Super Bowl. They went 15-2 this year. All they do is win, and that's really what Kansas City does. I think the biggest pros for the Chiefs going into this game is that they've been here before. Like I said, this is their fifth Super Bowl out of 6 years that they've appeared in. They're going for a three-peat. This team is comfortable with the bright lights. They're comfortable being here. It's just extremely insane, to be honest, what they're doing. I don't think I necessarily worded that right, but they're just doing a really good job of, again, just winning games, owning the moment, and taking the moment and seizing it. So, again, ton of credit to them. And specifically this year, even dating back to last year, I don't remember what the actual statistic is, but if it's a one-score game, the Chiefs, I think, are like 17-2 or 17-1 in their last 19 games. If it's a one-score game, they're winning the game. So this just shows that, again, they play that possession ball. It's going to be close, but they almost always come out on top. And again, you don't go 15-2 and not have a couple of tight games. But again, they came out on top of those games. So they really do have a lot going for them. Now when we get to the Eagles, the strengths for the Eagles, in my opinion, I just think the Eagles are the more talented roster. Other than Patrick Mahomes, maybe Kelce, and I guess Chris Jones. Chris Jones is pick your poison, to be honest. Other than that, I really don't value many other positions over Philadelphia. I like the Eagles' offensive line more. I like the Saquon Barkley more than the Chiefs' running backs. I wouldn't hate someone saying they like Goddard more at this point of his career than Kelce. I like the Eagles' receivers more than the Chiefs' receivers. I like the Eagles' D-line more than the Chiefs' D-line. I like the Eagles' linebacking corps more than the Chiefs' linebacking corps. I like the Eagles' secondary more than the Chiefs' secondary. I would say the only thing that they're really killing us on is the punting, the kicking. Jake Elliott has been hit or miss from outside of 50 this year, and he misses the occasional PAT. So I know Bucker hasn't been having the greatest year either, but I would give that to them. But overall, I just think Philly is by far the more talented team going into this game. Next is, yes, the Chiefs have the best rushing defense in the NFL, but the Eagles have not only the best rushing offense in the NFL, a historic offense in the NFL, rushing offense in the NFL. Saquon Barkley is only 30 yards away from setting an all-time season record heading into the Super Bowl, which, in my opinion, there's no way he doesn't hit that. So this is an all-time rushing attack you're going against, and that also comes with Jalen Hurts as well. So I feel like that really is going to be the matchup of the game to really watch. I know it's pretty basic on paper, like, oh, can they stop Saquon? But it's really the truth. They're the best in the league at this, and can they handle an all-time attack? We will see. But I'm still going to favor Philadelphia because, again, this is an all-time rushing attack with, in my opinion, one of the best offensive lines in football. You could say probably one of the best offensive lines in the last 15 to 20 years. They just get it done every single year. So I really do like that for the Eagles. Also, the Eagles are really good this year against man coverage. Jalen Hurts, he's been a little bit better with it, specifically against the blitz this year, which is going to be key in this game because Spags loves blitzing that man, and Spags likes to blitz in general and those weird plays, such as the 4th and 5 against the Bills a couple weeks ago. But A.J. Brown specifically has been very good against man coverage. Smitty has also been able to do his thing against it. So I think there are some angles to exploit there for the Eagles. Though, again, it's going to be a tough matchup. You got McDuffie and the rest of that secondary. So it's going to be tough. But I do think the Eagles can at least make some big plays there, though they aren't the team that's known for having the big play with the passing game. I think those opportunities could potentially be there in this game. And now to get to the defense for the Eagles, again, it is the best defense in the NFL. And what's crazy to me about this defense is it's a lot of young guys. It's a first-year coordinator, not with in his career, but his first year with Philadelphia. And a majority of the guys on this defense are either new or they're rookies, like they're new free agents. And again, we can just go through this defense really quick. Nolan Smith coming off the edge. Potentially now Brandon Graham. We'll see how effective he is if he plays. But he's an extra body. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, Zacchaeus Hunt. There's so many guys strictly just on the D-line. And then linebackers, you have Zach Bond, an all-pro player this year. And then you have Oren Burks stepping in for Nakobe Dean, who was great all year as well. But the Eagles have not missed a beat. Oren Burks has been playing phenomenal football as well. And I also like that he was in the Super Bowl last year with the Niners, so he's been in this situation. And then you get to the secondary. You have Darius Slay, a veteran, and then who's been very good. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, 2 standout rookies. And then you have Reed Blankenship at free safety. And then you got a dog in Gardner Johnson at strong safety. So what's not to like about this Eagles defense? There's a lot to like about it going into this game. Now, I had touched on this earlier, but again, these are the main things that I'm going to be focusing on. But can the Eagles get Hurts with the blitz? Hurts has been better this year with the blitz, but I kind of hold the Chiefs blitz a little bit higher just because, again, it's Spags. This guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to create these interesting concepts. It's just what he does. It's Kansas City football, and I think he's going to have some interesting packages for Hurts. Hurts also is, I think it's him or Lamar Jackson is one of the quarterbacks that has the ball longest in the pocket. So he will be holding the ball realistically in this game. And I think that's something the Chiefs can try to take advantage of. But they're going to have to send extra rush. Now, my only thing is, and I just said it, they're going to have to send an extra rusher. I'm not saying Chris Jones can't win a few battles, nor can Karlaftis. But this, again, is an all-time Eagles O-line. So I feel like to get pressure consistently on Hurts, they're going to have to send multiple bodies. other than just the D-line or the linebackers. And in my opinion, that is a potential mismatch for the Eagles to take advantage of because there's just going to be less guys covering one of those receivers or the tight end. Again, I also touched on this. Can the Chiefs contain Saquon? Now, the definition for containing Saquon is like 95 to 100 yards, but it's hard to say that they're going to be able to, even with the best rush defense in football, because no one else has. Literally no one else has been able to keep this guy in check. The Packers did an okay job. They didn't really let him get any of those home run runs, even though he really should have had one, but he took the knee at the end. The Rams, obviously, I think they let him get 450 yards in 2 games this year. Absolutely insane. And then, of course, he cooked the Commies again in their 3rd game meeting up. And he's done this against teams all year. He did it against Baltimore. Trying to think of other good run defenses that the Eagles saw that were really, really good. There's none coming to the top of my head, but he pretty much just killed every single team that they played against. So I'm going to have to side with Saquon here just because, again, he's on a historic tear right now. And I just think that's something that's going to be really, really difficult to stop because, yes, it's going to be important to blitz and hit those gaps when you can, but neutralizing that Eagles O-line is just going to be so, so difficult. An interesting statistic just to see for the Chiefs, just to help them out, is the Eagles are really not known for hitting a lot of big plays up the middle. Saquon doesn't get a lot of his yards from runs up the middle, though they like to go up the middle. If the Chiefs can stop his big runs on the outside, then I think they have a better chance of keeping this game close. But if he breaks one of those ones on the outside, I just think it's going to be a really long day. Now for the Eagles, this is specifically for their defense. Can they keep Mahomes in the pocket? Mahomes these last couple of weeks has really been dialing it up with the rushing attempts, with the rushing yards, and he beats teams with his legs. He's not known for being the most, scrambling quarterback. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Jalen Hurts. But this guy can make a play, specifically if he needs, a cool 4 or 5 yards. He's going to be able to do it. He's almost slippery-esque. He's so hard to tackle. Teams really struggle with it. And I just think that he will be able to get his own. But for me, it's really can that linebacking corps stay on top of him. And also, this is a big one, can the Eagles' defensive ends try to keep him within the pocket? Now, yes, Mahomes may just throw the ball then, but if you don't let him get outside, I think there's a better chance of it because I really do think the Eagles can exploit those tackles for the Chiefs, and that may be a deciding factor in this one. So they're just going to have to win those battles and hope they can get it done. But I do think Mahomes still does his thing. Maybe has a cool 35, 40 yards on Sunday, so we will see what happens with that. And last, this applies to both teams. Both teams have been phenomenal with it all year. Who is turning the ball over? Like I said, the Chiefs haven't turned the ball over much, if at all, in the playoffs, other than last week with the one fluke fumble. The Eagles didn't turn the ball over at all in the playoffs, so they had a couple chances to potentially do it, but they didn't. But they haven't turned the ball over, and I think the X factor for me in this one is the Eagles' defense. They have forced, I think it's been 10 turnovers just in the playoffs in 3 games. And I think they have 29 turnovers all season. I don't know how sustainable that is, but at the same time, we're at the Super Bowl and they're still making plays. So I think I'm going to lean Eagles here. I don't think the Eagles necessarily get, 3 turnovers in this game, but I think they maybe get 1 or 2, and those 1 or 2 are going to be crucial, whether it's Saquon punching a ball out or like we've seen out of the 2 out of the 3 weeks in the NFL playoffs, the Eagles get a lot of fumbles on these kickoffs returns. So the Chiefs, the guy running it back, why am I blanking on this? The Chiefs returner is going to have to be really careful because the Eagles do a great job of stripping that ball, and we both know. Anyone that watches the NFL knows if you turn the ball over too much, you're just going to lose the game. And it's been seen so much in the playoffs this year. Again, specifically just for the Eagles, Packers turn the ball over 3 times or 4 times. Rams turn it over multiple times. The Commanders turn it over multiple times. Like, this is just not a formula for success, and I think whoever wins that battle is going to win the game. For me, I have the Eagles winning 31-24. I just think it's going to be really hard for Kansas City to fully shut down this offense, and I think it's going to be a lot to cope with on shutting down that Eagles defense as well. I'm trying to take my favoritism out of this game because I am an Eagles fan, and 2 years ago I said the same thing about, oh, the Eagles are the better team. The Eagles are the better team. They were up by 10 at halftime. They lost that game. But I just think that this Eagles team is by far a better team than 2 years ago. They have a better rushing attack, a more dominant back. I feel better about Jalen Hurts against the blitz. I also feel better. I wouldn't say I necessarily feel better about this offensive line, but for some reason, I just have a little bit more confidence in them, even though the 22 offensive line was also phenomenal. And it's a lot of these same guys, but I have so much trust in that O-line. Also, I just think how the Eagles defense matches up against the Chiefs is a big factor for me as well. I trust the Eagles corners against those receivers for the Chiefs. Oh my gosh, I just realized I didn't even mention DeAndre Hopkins. But again, I'm not worried about most of these guys. The only guy that really, really scares me at this point for the Chiefs on receivers is Worthy. I think he can make plays because of his speed, and he's just been really good. But I trust these Eagles so much. I mean, like I said, you have DeJean, you have Slay, you have Quinton Mitchell, and you have Blankenship and Gardner Johnson there as well. That's numerous bodies, and I think, again, none of these guys are scaring me on the outside. I think they should be able to handle Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Xavier Worthy, and DeAndre Hopkins. So I do favor the Eagles right there. And then on the defensive line, I think it's going to be really interesting. Can that Chiefs offensive line handle the interior pressure for the Eagles? We will see. But like I've been saying all video, I think the tackles is the X factor for the Eagles. I think if the Eagles can exploit the tackles for the Chiefs, I think the Eagles can win this game because it's just going to be a lot of pressure. And then if they have to start allocating more bodies to the outside, I don't see how Jalen Carter doesn't have a couple one-on-ones where he can really wreak havoc. So I think it's just going to be too much for the Chiefs to handle. And this is how I've also tried to think about it. And again, I am an Eagles fan. But taking all my bias out of this game, other than the Chiefs having Andy Reid, Spags, and Mahomes, which is a lie, I'm not discounting that, the Eagles are just the better team. They just are. The Eagles are by far the better team. And again, both these teams are very good with possessing the ball and forcing turnovers. I just think it's going to be, again, maybe a game of inches, margins, whatever you want to call it. But I just think the Eagles get it done. They have a chip on their shoulder, and they're just the better roster. And I think some of these things, on just how they match up against KC, I think it's really in their favor. So, Eagles 31-24. Let me know your predictions down below. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. Drop any thoughts down below in the comments. If you like this type of content, subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys.